Stop thinking traditional succession planning works. It doesn't. And here's the kicker. While you're still promoting based on tenure and seniority, AI just eliminated the entry-level positions your ladder depends on. So what happens when the bottom rungs disappear? I'm Ryan Kohler, and this is Talent Talks. Today, Emily Alvarez sat down with Amber Vanderburg, founder of the Pathwayz Group and international leadership coach, for a conversation that's going to completely flip how you think about career development, succession planning, and building resilient teams in a rapidly changing workplace. Here's what's wild. Amber just revealed something that should make every HR leader panic, then get excited. IBM just laid off 8,000 people, Microsoft cut 9,000, and guess what? It's not just any jobs, it's entry-level positions and middle management getting eliminated. The traditional career ladder is literally missing rungs now, but here's where it gets interesting. Amber's not panicking. She's pioneering what she calls the toolbox approach to career development. Instead of climbing a ladder that might be leaning against the wrong wall, she's teaching people to build their own scaffolding with the skills they need. Emily and Amber dive deep into why younger generations are saying, I don't want your ladder. They're calling it conscious unbossing. They want tools, not titles, skills, not seniority, the ability to build their own career path instead of following someone else's predetermined route. They're exploring how technology is flattening hierarchies, eliminating middle management, but creating incredible opportunities for strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and what Amber calls humaning skills, the stuff that makes us irreplaceably human in an automated world. This isn't about fearing change, it's about reimagining how we develop leaders when the old playbook doesn't work anymore. When entry-level jobs disappear but senior roles still exist, how do you build the pipeline? When global teams need cultural intelligence more than technical skills, how do you prepare leaders for that reality? Ready to discover why the future of leadership development looks nothing like what you learned in business school? Let's dive in.
Thank you for joining us for another awesome episode of Talent Talks. I'm Emily Alvarez, your host, and today I'm joined by Amber Vanderburg. Oh my gosh, let me start over. Sorry.
You're okay. It's a long last name.
I know. I have a friend that's Vanden and then not Berg, but I always do that. But
the Dutch, we had a good time with our picking our last names. Yes.
Mine gets butchered all the time as well, so I get it. Okay. Hello, my name is Emily Alvarez, and I'm the host of Talent Talks. Welcome back to another awesome episode. I'm joined today with Amber Vanderburg. She is the founder of the Pathwayz Group. She has written an awesome book called Uniquely Better, and she is also an international leadership coach and consultant, recent speaker at Sherm Gulf Coast. And she is here today to talk with us about succession planning. So awesome to have you, Amber. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit, Amber, about how you got into HR planning, succession planning. Tell us a little bit about the topic and how you got into helping leadership with planning for skills-based succession in their workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. So I own a company called the Pathwayz Group. So we are a leadership development company. We have team members across North America, Europe, and Asia, and really work in leadership development, mostly for those global organizations that need to develop their leaders. We really believe that learning and development, it's not one single step. It is a continuous pathway, and that's why we're called the Pathwayz Group as leadership development. And we find that a lot of companies, nobody desires or intends to become a toxic organization or an organization with poor leadership. Many times it's not those intentions, it's the direction in which we're going. And so the same with succession planning. You don't just wake up one day and, we don't have a plan, right? You might have that realization, but that is a pathway that you walk down. And so what we do is we work with organizations to plan long-term strategic development of leaders. So most of the time we'll work with a company for 6 months, a year, a couple of years to help develop leaders through facilitated workshops, coaching, online learning, and workbooks or workbook resources. And so through those 4 ways, that's how we work with companies in their succession planning, leadership development, really strategic talent development.
I love that. And I love that you said that you work with these companies over long periods of time. I know the Pathwayz Group has a very unique way of approaching leadership development and skills-based planning within succession planning. So when you and I have talked before, right, we talked about the traditional way companies deal with succession planning. And succession planning, can be based on right tenure, it can be based on seniority, it can be based on length of service at a place. Those are kind of some of the traditional methods we think of, right? You've been with a company for a long time, the manager leaves or, gets promoted. Usually it's like the next person in line, right? Talk a little bit about how the Pathwayz Group approaches succession planning, because um you guys move a little bit away from that mentality of kind of that ladder building succession planning, right?
Mhm. Yes, and we have to, right?
Right.
This is the reality of what's happening across the HR industry, right? And so we've heard it said, as a slogan, oh, we have to be more strategic and not transactional, and we're moving from a transactional department to a strategic department. What that means, Emily, is uh, transactional is for the most part pretty simple, right? Oh, we have a position here, 10 years down the road, we move someone up. That's a fairly simple plug and play model. With strategy, uh, with strategic thinking, it is more complexity, right? That's
Right.
looking at the big picture. And for us, it's so exciting because it's a chance to be innovative. It's a chance to be
Yes.
creative and come up with a better solution. And so what we have talked about and what I share with our clients is really looking away from this ladder model. For one thing, most people aren't staying at a company for a decade.
Right.
That and this comes from both ends, right? We are seeing the layoffs happening from the companies, and we're seeing people leaving. And so having that 7 to 10 year leadership planning may not work for most of your positions, right?
Yeah.
For a good deal of your positions. And so the mentality that we have is not so much a ladder. And we're hearing this from the younger generations coming into the workforce. They're saying, hey, I don't want the ladder. Right?
Right.
The term that I've heard is conscious unbossing, right? I
Right.
don't
Right.
want this ladder. There's this fear that I spend all this time climbing up the ladder and then find out that it's leaning against the wrong wall. So what do
Exactly.
we want instead? Give me a toolbox. Give me the tools that I need, a hammer here, a nail here, and let me build my own ladder, right? And it might not be a ladder. It might be it might be a rope. It might be a diving board. Whatever you need, different scaffolding. Let me
Sure.
build my own journey. And this comes from a few things. Um, well, and I know we've talked about this. It comes from a few parts of the ladder that are being either reimagined or completely redefined within the company workplace. So, for example, we've talked about AI, the place that it has in entry level jobs. It can take away entry level jobs,
Yeah.
right? So I
In
no
fact,
longer.
IBM just did it, right? They just laid off like 8,000 people,
And
right?
Microsoft just laid off 9,000 people,
Right.
right? We're seeing this happen, right? So, what does that mean for a student who has gone to school to become a developer? We need developers in companies. We need senior developers in companies, but that entry level developer job is now being replaced by AI. It's
Right.
that entry level step that is being replaced, but we still have that secondary, the tertiary steps that still exist within the
Right.
company. So what does that middle step look like? And this is I don't have the full answer here. This is quickly evolving. So
Sure.
types of solutions that we've seen is students saying, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur for a while and create my own experience, create my own portfolio that then I can use to parlay into a senior developer job. I can
Right.
have an internship, an apprenticeship, right? And so whatever that is, I'm finding a place. And for companies, they have to ask the same question too, because for succession planning, I know that my senior developers at some point are going to move on to another role, they're going to retire, whatever. And
Right.
so I have to be mindful of that missing entry level step. And so what we do at the Pathwayz Group is we help to create, again, pathways. Sometimes they're sandboxes, helping people to create portfolios, project-based
Right.
work, skills-based work, right? And so we're finding ways to still build that pipeline that you need. Now, the example that I just gave is on entry level. We're seeing the same thing within leadership positions as well. Again, Microsoft, IBM, Meta, Citigroup, right? We're seeing some of these shifts, and a lot of the layoffs that we're seeing are also in middle management
Yes.
positions as well. And so you look big scale of I need my I need my frontline leaders, and we still have our executive leaders. This hierarchy is being flattened. So how then do we identify and and clarify between high potential and high performing whenever we're preparing to build people up for a leadership position, especially an executive leadership position. And this is where this toolbox idea really comes
Right.
into play. And so rather than, let's say, Emily, I have a year-long learning journey, rather than waiting a whole year before we actually have a tool that we're able to put into use, we we break this down into 4 weeks, right? So you introduce a new idea. Let's give an example: performance feedback, right? So rather than spending the whole year on performance feedback, we're going to spend the next 4 weeks just on setting performance expectations. This is a specific tool that I need for this project, for this job right now. I'm going to learn that tool. I'm going to put it into action. I'm going to see that growth and that momentum being built in my own personal skills. Now, what we're seeing with a lot of Gen Z and some millennials as well, especially younger millennials,
Right.
is people are taking these tools and saying, this not only helps me in my job, but it also helps me in the side thing I want to do with the goals that I want to reach, right? And if they're able to see that application not only in their immediate role, but in life in general, uh, that's where we see the real um, engagement and retention come into play. And so
Right.
breaking, now that doesn't mean that it ends at 4 weeks, right? We still
Oh, of
build a
course not.
year-long program. So
Yeah.
we talked about setting performance expectations. Now we're going to give the performance feedback, receiving performance feedback, using performance feedback data, right? So we're doing faster iterations of applications of
Right.
learning and iterations of learning, uh, and it's one tool at a time. Yes.
And I love what you said for a number of reasons. The toolbox approach is great because um it gives people a hands-on approach to be able, like you said, whether that's a sandbox, it gives them a place to experiment. It gives them a place to innovate. It gives them a place to break things without breaking them, like where it's going to negatively affect, things. Um, and I think that's an important part of learning and development, right? Which is something that I think is sorely missing from a lot of companies right now. And it's something that, and I've talked about this with you and a number of others, that companies are traditionally built on a model of stability. And then you have a technology like AI that comes in, and AI is really not the problem, but you have something like AI or whatever that comes in and it's disruptive because it's different,
Mhm.
and so now, like, something that is disruptive, like, now we have to build for agility because we have this tool that has the ability to automate a whole bunch of different things and do a whole bunch of different things that we haven't really seen before, but we also don't know that much about it. And so, companies right now are struggling because I don't know that they're bringing in the proper amount of L&D on the front end to really look at things and say, okay, we have to align this with our internal values. We have to look at what we're going to be using these tools for and who's going to be using them and why they're going to be using them. What are these tools being used for and what are these tools not being used for? You know, I mean, it's important. And also, with this, big part of it is teaching critical thinking skills in general. AI right now, one of the things that scares me about it is that I don't think it's healthy for people to become too dependent on it, because then we forget how to human, you know?
Yes, we've actually heard that verbiage of teach us humaning skills.
Yeah.
Oh, we've turned this into a verb. Okay.
Yeah, we forget how to critically think. And I think I've seen that with younger generations, and we have this spread in the workforce right now of this big generational gap of, like, I mean, it's the biggest generational spread I think I've ever seen in the workforce today. And um, and we have a lot of critical thinking that's not happening. And then we have a workforce that's changing and we have these disruptive things that are happening. And I mean, realistically, no one, well, I wouldn't say no one, but a lot of people are not giving employees toolboxes to work from. And even if they are giving them toolboxes, they're not really explaining to them how to use the tools. That's another problem. You can't just hand somebody a wrench and expect them to know how to turn a wrench,
Yes.
you know? I mean,
Correct.
you gotta invest in, like, whether that's investing in a mentor to come in and teach people, whether it's investing in like a consulting group to come in and help, whether it's investing in a teacher to come in, whatever that is, whatever the case may be. We can't expect our teams to know how to operate these tools and then take it a step further in HR. If we're going to do performance reviews on these things, if we're going to discipline based on these things in any capacity at work, if we're going to issue raises on these things, incentive bonuses, I mean, you can't do things like that ethically if you have not spent the time investing in your employees to understand how to use these things. In my
Yes.
opinion, humbly, in my opinion.
I agree with your hot take.
So,
One thing I had a colleague share is, whenever it comes to AI, it is like a big shiny tool. And they said it's like getting a big shiny bike. And some people are learning how to ride a bike and they're going
right,
faster and they're going better. And there are some that just have a big shiny bike and they're pushing it,
right.
which is actually more challenging to do.
Yeah,
And I've spent, and we've talked about this a lot with our team internally as we're designing. For us, it's not so much just AI general, but it's AI in leadership, AI in HR.
right.
And as I think about this, we spend more time thinking about digital transformation that happened honestly not that long ago. I mean, within
Right.
within our lifetime, a couple
Yes.
decades ago, we were talking about digital transformation within companies. And you think about the challenges that were faced in organizations at that time,
Yeah,
right? At that time, it is faster for me to write something than to type something if I don't have typing skills.
correct. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
In the same way, it's faster for me to do something if I don't have the skills on how to use AI and how to use it well.
Right.
And so, things that we did back then is we implemented micro learning, and one of the biggest challenges is that playing with AI takes time, and
Yes.
time is frankly something that do we have this time to do it?
The most precious commodity.
It's the most precious commodity. Um, And so we want to have this time to play and explore. I don't have the 30 minutes it's going to take, or even the 10 minutes it's going to take for me to learn this. With digital transformation, it was things with very micro learning games, right? The reason why we had solitaire on the
Solitaire,
computer,
Minesweeper, yeah, all that stuff.
Minesweeper, was to
Yep.
teach us how to use a mouse, click,
Click,
and drag.
unclick. Yeah, exactly.
And Emily, frankly, I didn't realize that at that time. We were being
We're
fooled
being
into learning.
conditioned. We
We
were
were being
conditioned.
conditioned, gamified learning.
Yep.
This is how I use a mouse. This is how I type. And
Yep.
we don't have that just yet. Um, within the workplace. One thing that we spent time as I don't believe anyone is an AI expert at this time. We're all
No.
AI explorers. Yeah, AI
Enthusiasts, whatever you
explorers,
want to call us.
enthusiasts,
Yeah.
whatever you want to. Yeah, but an expert, not so much. But we spent time, we work quite a bit with technology companies, and we asked a couple dozen technologists, what is it that you wish that HR knew and did whenever
Right.
it comes to AI and emerging technology in general? And consistently, we got pretty much the same answer,
Yeah.
which was, Amber, we want HR to use AI when appropriate, and don't use AI whenever there needs to be the human touch, right? Don't
Yeah.
terminate everyone through an automated email, right?
Oh,
This is right. This is an example, right?
yeah. That would, I
We
mean,
we
that's,
don't
yeah.
need to be on our third round of an interview and still being
Talking to
interviewed
a
with
robot.
AI to a
Yeah.
robot, right? And so it's appropriate use. Please use AI and emerging technology in general. Use AI when it should be used, an appropriate use. And it's understanding both the opportunities and the limitations. Now, from our side, and so part of that, it's with that play, we've tried tools that it has made us more efficient, and
Right.
then we do a review and go, efficient, yes; effective, no.
Right.
We've lost that touch there, and so then we'll take away the tool and say either it's not sophisticated enough, maybe we can try to get another time. This is something that is essential to have the personal touch in our business model, right? And so we're constantly trying something new, and there
Right.
are times that we tried it and we need people here.
Right.
Um, when there are times that we will not use real data, so we will use AI to generate fake data to then try a performance review or try, right? And so I want AI to I want HR to be hesitant, especially in some situations, and how you're using employee data. That does not mean that you don't use it at all. You can create a sandbox situation where you have fake data. Let's see what an
Test it.
employee wellness strategy will look like. Let's
Right.
see what this is. And then find both, and I think both of these have to be in the conversation. What is the opportunity and what is the limitation?
Right.
And this is where, just like what you said, that critical thinking from us, the three biggest requests that we've gotten in the last year, as far as an increase, has been emotional intelligence, significant, right?
Sure.
Significantly, we're getting more and more requests for emotional intelligence. That is a longer learning journey, right? Critical thinking, just like what you said,
Yep.
critical thinking, strategic thinking, those are different, but we're going to put them in the similar category.
Yeah, they're close.
Close enough, right? And so we get requests for both of those, critical thinking and strategic thinking. Um, and then the third one that we get really is related to relationships. So community building, connection building, especially with
Interpersonal.
that personal
Mhm.
touch, right? Um, I mean, the studies have been out there for years now, and it's continuing to grow of a loneliness epidemic, right? And needing to have connection with an actual human being. And that can be challenging whenever you're working in a remote team,
Well, yeah, a lot of
whenever
that
your
came off the
biggest
back of COVID,
interaction,
for
a lot
sure.
of it is coming off, and we're a remote organization. So we have remote team members, but it can be challenging whenever you have a fully remote team, whenever the greatest interaction that you have with on a daily basis is a machine.
Right.
It's not a person. And so what we do is say, all right, this is our reality, right? This is our world. What are some practical ways that we can create genuine, authentic connections? Okay. We've been told by Gallup for decades now that the number one indicator of engagement at work is having a best friend at work. So the
Yeah.
question that we have is, well, how do you generate best friendships with people that you've never actually met in person? And so what we do is we'll look at the leadership development piece has to have that human piece. Okay.
Right.
It has to have that human piece. And if we look at something like succession planning, a challenge that we have, and one thing that we haven't gotten a request of as much, it's slowly starting to grow, is more of the ethics, empathy, uh, humanity training. So including that more
Which is
in our
interesting because
question.
I think that's the number one thing that's missing. If it
I,
was, if it was like, if I had to say what's the number one thing that's missing in the workplace, like overall as a whole, and I have a theory behind why, um, but I would say that's the number one thing that's missing is empathy-driven leadership.
Yes. And so that's where we come into play. And part of that, in order to have empathy, you first have to have connection with others. Right. And so
Right.
um yeah, so that's what we get to do. And where we look at as a learning and a leadership development company, it's not so much the stats of complete. I mean, we do collect these stats, but we don't care so much about the did you complete these 7 sessions? Did you do this? What we really
Right.
measure is the action steps that are taken, and that's the real number. That's the highlight in the impact report is what is the behavioral change?
Right.
And the number one factor that we've seen of actually implementing behavioral change, not so much going to the class or watching the videos or listening to the podcast. It is, do you have an we encourage an internal coaching network, so an accountability person that you then talk about, commit to, implement the action steps that are discussed. And this doesn't have to be regulated, super formal, right? It
Right.
can be something that is implemented within the culture, that's encouraged within the culture. So let me give you an example of how we've done this even internally and within some of our
Sure.
if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So one way that we do this as a development company, we ourselves are always looking in the mirror and saying, how can we develop?
Yeah.
So uh, our uh, our goal setting, different than our metrics, our goal setting is
Right.
more of a facilitated session that we do as a team internally. So once a
Love that.
quarter, every
Yeah.
3 months, we come together and the we ask 4 questions. So we do it personal and professional. So what were your wins? Personal wins. What were your professional wins? What are your personal goals and what are your professional goals? And we take time to write them down in reflection, and you share what you want to share. So we know that there are some people, they might write down a financial goal that they don't care to share
Right.
publicly,
And
but
just
it's
to be
that
clear to the,
space.
well, and just to be clear, sorry to interrupt, but just to be clear to the listener, this is siloed into peer groups, right? These are peer groups.
When yes, this is in
Yeah,
smaller groups.
peer groups,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
correct. And so this is maybe an hour
Right.
once a quarter. It's not a ton of time.
Right.
What we find is that time of sharing, and then at the end we ask, how can we support these goals, right? Which is great for me as a leader, because then I know we'll go in more depth in our one-on-ones,
Right.
right, of the professional side. But it also creates a space of, oh, we have similar things that we're working towards. We had a couple of people in our group that they had a goal of waking up earlier.
Right.
Simple goal.
Yeah.
And they created their own Slack channel. They started sharing their own insights. Hey, I did this here. All right. And they started supporting one another in this way. One thing that happened with one of our team members, this was several years ago, is we came into a goal setting meeting, and this person had typically met most of their goals every quarter.
Right.
And this quarter, they had not met any of their goals.
Mm.
Now, what I knew and what this person knew, and what a couple other people in the team knew, is that this person had experienced 2 deaths in their family and had another family issue that was going on. And so
Right.
I knew this. We had talked about this
Right.
privately, one on one. And so I came into the meeting and started the meeting with this, and really changed the way that we approach this. Is we don't Are we measuring success by what we achieve or by who we become? And in that season, that person had become a better cousin, a better sister, a better niece, a better daughter.
Right.
That's what that person had become. And in the same way, we can look at this organizationally. We can make a lot of money and achieve a lot. And if in that process, right, meet all of our financial goals and our client goals, and if in that process we have become less than honest, if we've become a toxic workplace, if we've created a space for burnout, then have we really succeeded? And
Right.
so what that did is it reframed the performance side. And this is, I'll tie this back into succession planning in a moment, right? This is where on the performance side, it actually started driving similar performance goals, but with a new meaning behind it.
Right.
Right? I'm not uh, getting up and running every day just because, I've been told that I need to have exercise in my life. No, I want to who I want to become is a person that lives a long, healthy life.
Sure.
Right. I want to have wellness throughout my
Self-improvement,
life,
betterment and everything. Yes.
self-improvement. And so that running has a different purpose. Now,
Right.
what that did in the connection for our team was incredible. And we've seen this with other companies as well, is tying in unified purpose, um, unified purpose behind those goals. And so we see the same thing with leadership development. Am I wanting to become a leader just because the world says, hey, you should want to be a leader? Or who am I wanting to become? Well, I want to become a person that leads innovative ideas. I want to become a leader that is a person that people feel trusted, that people can be honest with, and I can support, and I can champion their success. I
Yeah.
want to be a leader that I can create the future. I can and some people, I want to be a steady leader, right? I want to create that safe, steady place for my team. We're going to change, but we're going to keep it steady. And those are different leadership styles. It does drive a different purpose behind those goals that we see, and that tools that are being put into the toolbox, and the way that ladders are being built. So we're seeing that more in the initial conversations, that why conversation.
And that's refreshing to hear. And I'm also seeing the same thing with conversations and clients, and being more open to, the why, and like this evolution of the conversation. The interesting thing though is HR, and I know you and I've said this to you, I believe HR has become sort of the cultural emergency room, right?
Mhm.
And everybody's kind of come to HR with expectation of kind of putting HR on the pedestal to like deal with these things, these
Everything.
ongoing, right? And they're expected to triage everything that's coming through their doors as far as toolboxes, tech adoption, employees, and it goes even further to the traditional stuff HR, deals with benefits and, paternity, maternity leave, and, all the things that HR deals with. They are literally the heartbeat a lot of times of the company. And, this is all great. The thing is, if a company's values, like you said, are not in alignment, and they've become a toxic work environment, and the HR person is like, I recognize this need for serious overhaul and change, but upper leadership is not on board with it, nothing gets done. And HR is they what I've encouraged a lot of HR professionals to do is come with low lift options at first to try to like get in there. But it's tough because if these kinds of conversations can't happen at work, there's a bigger problem because um I believe people are only as good as the resources that they're given a lot of times. And something like where you're talking about tools and AI it could be a massive tool in a toolbox, right? In a lot of different ways because it's flexible, it's agile. We can use it for a lot of different things, a lot of leverage there for different options. But ideally, blending of humanity and tech and, just humanity in general, which is like that's empathy driven workplace. Um, if upper management leadership is not on board with getting the proper training and getting on board with living those values and really establishing like, hey, we need to like live this in everything we do and hire for this and hold accountable, because you said something very interesting, like we have peer groups and we hold accountable and we like talk about these things, we set goals. Of course, people do better with an accountability coach all the time. That's why we have personal trainers. That's why we have, people like nutritionists if we're having problems eating correctly, or, when we're going to the doctor, like if, we're doing something wrong with our diet or whatever it is, they're going to tell us, right? We try to have people that hold us accountable for certain things. People do better when we are struggling with something and we have somebody kind of kicking our butt to do it a lot of times. Um, but also to hold our hand in a gentle way when we're slipping to help us up, not like, I call it like with my kids, I'm like, I'm going to lovingly kick your butt, I'm going to let you fall down a little bit because like you have to like learn, that's part of critical thinking. Like you have to like learn how to make mistakes too. But in this case, upper management has to be on board,
And that is one area where, again, transactional versus strategic,
right?
for human resources to truly be effective in their role, we have to be better. I feel like the term business partner is overused now, but we have to be better. We have to have better business acumen.
Yes.
And where we work quite a bit is we actually have some special courses on how to increase business acumen as an HR professional. And I think that gets a challenged rap at times of, oh, I don't want to be all about the numbers. I'm all about the people. You cannot effectively be about the people if you do not know how to tie this in, right? I cannot effectively advocate for, and again, we encourage more internal coaching networks because that is
Right.
better budget friendly and you get more value out of it, right? So you're not hiring a bunch of our coaches, but you're
Sure.
doing this internally. But I can't effectively advocate for that if I can't first say, this is exactly how much a 10-minute accountability call is going to you're going to see this return in this, right? And
Right.
I'm not asking for that, right? And so I have to know what numbers specifically I need to prioritize. And the numbers I'm prioritizing for a CMO and a COO and a CFO and a CEO are different. And
Right.
a big challenge is we go, oh, well, these are numbers, this is data, but is that the data that actually is a priority? If I'm talking to the CFO, I'm going to show the numbers, right?
Yes,
I'm
because
going to
they
say,
care. Yeah.
this is financially how much you're going to invest, and what they're going to want is how much is this going to cost me
Yes.
financially, and how much is going to be my return. If I'm talking to the COO, that number is different. They're going to want to know more about the time. What does the
Right.
rollout? What
Right.
they're going to want to know operationally, how much is this going to impact our process and our pipeline? And
Right.
those, I have to be able to speak to several of those dimensions. And as human resources, that start with start with reading a spreadsheet, right? And let that be a starting point. All right.
Right.
If you're not reading the financials of your company, that needs to be your first point. That is not the ending point.
Right.
Uh, to be a better advocate for your people, you have to understand how this impacts your company as a whole. And what we do is we actually share this with the company, with the people that are in the training too, right? Let them see that progress, and they can help advocate for it as well. Um, I'll share a story real quick. There was a
Yeah. Yeah.
company that we've been working with, and we were working in partnership with their leadership development company. They were specifically working in in a few areas of the leadership development. There was pressure, external pressure to make cuts to some of their initiatives, some of their programs, and the internal department and ourselves, like, we feel this, like we're hearing what's going on.
Right.
They did a survey, Emily, and the number one request of the entire company, this is a Fortune 500 company, the number one request of the employees was, we see this impact. We've seen the numbers, and we are advocating that you continue in this training. That was not advocacy from the department. That was advocacy from the employees as a whole. Now, that does not happen. That does not happen without a lot of time from the department and from us
Right.
working with them first to
Yeah.
educate people on, hey, this is not just a required 1 hour course that you're taking. We're actually showing the data and showing the impact. So yeah, and
Right.
it's not just one number, right? It's
Well, and
not,
you
okay,
got the
shoot.
buy-in. Yeah, and the buy-in is so important, and that's a lot of what's missing is, again, like when you're doing a survey like that with your employees and they're saying very clearly, this is a resource we want.
Mhm.
We
We
bought
see
into
that.
this.
Mhm,
There's value here. This
mhm.
is something that is impacting us that will give you a return.
And for this, I mean, the leadership
That's
listened,
magic.
right? Yeah, the leadership listened. I mean, and the comments we were getting is, I came to this company because of this. Like, this is a reputation. I am staying at this company because of this. And so, uh, yeah,
Well, yeah, you just turned
we
an
have to be a better business now.
expense into an investment. And that's the difference. And if a leadership team can't see that, again, culturally, there's a bigger problem there, right?
Hopefully, but I'll add to that. If leadership can't see that, then I haven't done my job also to communicate that in a way that they understand. Now, there are always going to be some leaders that I'm choosing to not see this. Right? Uh,
Right,
I need to make sure that I have done everything that I can to understand their pain points, understand um, understand the data that is valuable to them, and give those quick wins. If someone
right,
is going to have to wait 6 months before they see a win, I haven't shown my value quickly enough. I need to show smaller iterations. That's what agility is. It's the
right.
smaller
All
iterations
steps at a
of
time. Yeah.
implementation, of application. And that's good for the leadership and good for the employees, the people that are taking these courses.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I would also venture to say um better benchmarks maybe, like of progress,
Mhm.
what are the benchmarks for measuring? And that to me is something that like that's an area where AI could come in and be like,
Absolutely.
this is something great. I where I struggle with AI and stuff like this for human resources for me personally is where we get into like the you know evaluations and stuff like that when it comes to how we're using that data when it comes to like candidate screening, um that kind of stuff because of profiling and because of potential biases in negative ways. I don't think we effectively, because biases are human, they're human nature, and because the tech is a reflection, a mirror of us, and human biases exist. I don't care who you are. If you say you're not biased, you're lying. And to some degree, we try not to be, I think, to the most part, but we're human, right? And I think because we train the AI, like it's impossible to train bias out of it at this stage, right? And so I guess like that would be an area that I would say like this would not be a good fit for AI, but I think in the talent pipeline, when it comes to benchmarking and it comes to like studying this stuff, as long as we have enough information, again, in the learning and development on the front end to give it a comparison from before to all the stages throughout, then that would be a great way to say, hey, here we have value, and this is where we started, and this is where we're at, continuously tracking on these employees or whatever through where they're going in this journey. Um, I use it for self-improvement all the time. I have an agent that I built for it, and it's like worked wonders based on, because I don't really care about dumping like my what do you call it? My assessment scores into there. I don't think anybody cares about my, you know,
Yeah.
INFJ personality or any of that stuff. They don't care. And if they do, like have at it. It's not that interesting. Um but I think, we have ability to do cool stuff like that. But again, I think as HR, if that's going to be the tipping point or the point that's going to ignite the conversation, um, we have to do our due diligence and really look into this stuff and figure out how we can maximize the return in an empathetic and human way that's not going to hurt anybody and but also is going to give us these cool results.
And in a strategic way.
Yeah, and in a
Again,
strategic way.
the AI, they can give us the insights, and they can start that conversation of what's an
Yeah,
innovative way to do this. But again,
yeah,
that's where the business acumen comes into play.
right,
Uh, let's bring it kind of full circle back to succession planning. Succession planning typically, historically, was we have a vacancy. Now we fill the vacancy. You might have a vacancy review.
right,
But I was trained to always do vacancy reviews.
right.
And so that's what we do. I'm finding out that not everyone does those. So if you're not doing vacancy reviews, you should.
You should.
But even within that, the way that we do a vacancy review can be more strategic, right? Okay, we're doing the vacancy review now. This used to take 5 people to do a job. Now AI can do a fourth of it. Do we need
Right,
all 5 people? Like, can we get, instead of 5 executives, can we get 2 assistants and 3 executives, right?
right.
Or administration assistants, right? And so now, again, I can't be innovative and strategic like that if I don't first understand the business. If I don't
No, of
first
course. Got to get in
understand
the
my
weeds.
client. You have to understand the messy part of HR. That is what is being demanded of us. It's
Yes.
no longer a suggestion. That is what's being demanded of us. And for me, that's where it gets fun.
Oh
And,
yeah,
and
me too.
and I've heard people, we've heard the stats, and I've heard everything of, AI is going to take 20, 30, 50, 80% of jobs of AI or of HR. Okay, so let's go to the extreme, right? The 80% is the
Let's say
highest
it
I've heard.
goes there. Yeah.
Let's say it goes there. If that is the case, I would make the argument that that other 20% of the job of HR is not the job that we've had the time to do with
Right.
excellence before. And so, okay, you're going to automate a time off request. Fine by me. I didn't
Right.
want to take the time to do that anyways. So now I get
Exactly.
to spend time having a conversation with you after you come back from your time off and build a relationship. And
Right.
I look at one industry that we've done some work with in the past, and they went through this transformation a long time ago. If you took a couple decades ago, and that is library systems.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
You talk
Oh, yeah.
about, I mean, so
Talk about a
growing up,
massive overhaul.
yes, but I think about growing up, going to the library. What the librarian did was taught me how to
Go to the card
do the Dewey
system.
Decimal System, right? Go to the card and find my book. Transactional job.
Yep.
You go to a library today, we are not at a shortage of librarians. They're not just teaching me how to use the Dewey Decimal System, they're running educational programs.
Right.
There's more programs and resources, and the library is a beautiful place now, and that role has not gone away.
It's evolved.
Imagine it's evolved. Imagine if librarians had tried to do all that they're doing now, if they were still having to teach people how to book and shelve the books. No, now
Yeah.
they're able to do so much more. And I think that's
Right.
what's going to happen with HR is we're going to say these jobs of shelving books, maybe there's some aspects of it that are still part of that role, and we get to do so much more. That extra 20% is that innovative side. But again, a librarian can't be effective if they aren't adapting to new technology, if they aren't looking to see what's going on in the world around us and how can we help patrons, how can we help people as best we can. And the same as with HR. It means we have to
Yeah.
know business, we have to know our people, we have to know our industry, and we have to know technology.
I agree with you. I think that's a great point. I think we have to better, continue our education. We need to learn about AI. We need to be curious. If you're not using AI, try and you're not into it or afraid of it, use it for something innocuous. Like tell your kid a bedtime story, have it help you write one, or have it, pull a bunch of stuff out of your fridge, have it write you a recipe, something innocuous to just kind of play with it. But I think you're right. I think we have to evolve. Um, and this is true in any industry, right? Not just HR. It's true in
No,
any industry. And
I love
stay
how, oh, go ahead.
oh no, yeah, just staying curious is the major thing. But what's interesting is with HR, um, I think you can automate a lot of stuff, whether it's a sales, follow-up emails, writing content, marketing, all of the stuff you can do. But what's interesting with HR is I think we're gonna see a slower take on the people of HR because um there are so many companies that have like smaller sizes and stuff, and there's so many paper companies still out there.
Mhm.
It's gonna take a while because a lot of these companies are gonna have to digitize first.
Mhm.
That's the big thing is in order to do this, they're gonna have to digitize and make some major changes internally, like when it comes to preparing, if they're gonna transition correctly into like automation. You gotta lay the groundwork first because like we're saying, agility is like you don't eat the whole whale in one bite, right? Like you do that. That's how these companies that are implementing AI too quickly are like really face planting because they're not doing their due diligence and laying the proper groundwork before they're just let me just throw caution to the wind and like bring this thing in. It
You have
doesn't.
to understand the limitations.
Yes, and you also have to understand the capabilities.
Yes.
Both are just as dangerous
Yes.
and
Yes.
just as fruitful at the same time.
It's a powerful tool. It's a
Very.
very powerful tool.
And we don't know
And
that much about it, which is even more interesting. So be careful.
we have a couple of clients, they have a HR departments, and their policy is every 60 days, which so that's every other month.
Yeah.
They are finding a new HR function that they can experiment with AI. Right. So something very small, but they
Yeah.
experiment with it, and then
Smart.
they come back. 2 months is enough time to say, like, okay,
Yeah.
how am I
Test
feeling
it,
about
play with
this?
it. Yeah.
And then they have the conversation of, okay, what do we like about this? Do we want to continue this? And they're trying it out. And I
Yeah.
think that that's the right thing is
That's smart.
you don't have to, let me rephrase, don't do everything all at once, just iterating exactly what you just said. Do
Yeah.
not do this all at once. Find something very small, right? That yeah, something very small to do and implement that. I love Satya Nadella. He's the
Mhm.
CEO of Microsoft, and he has
Yeah.
this great quote of, we cannot be know-it-alls. That it's impossible to be a know-it-all in
No.
2025 because what we know is changing by the second. There's always new information coming out. So we cannot be a know-it-all. We can only be a learn-it-all. And
Right.
that does mean that we have to create time to learn, time to play, time to fail, and being okay to fail. The studies have shown in just life shows with things like social media where we show the final product,
Yeah.
um, and we miss some of that failure. It's okay to fail.
Yes. It is. It's
We
100% okay to
encourage
fail.
you to fail. Now, don't fail whenever you are putting together my payroll, right? Whenever
Me
you're doing
neither.
that's when I want you to get fake data and practice first in a sandbox, in a safe environment.
Right.
So you use AI, play with it. Don't play with my personal finance information or my healthcare
Yeah.
information.
There's critical
Find a
thinking
way.
skills, people.
Use
This
your
is the
critical
time.
thinking skills,
Yes.
right? To say, okay, what is my risk management? Speak to
Right.
your legal team. Is this a legal place for me to do this, right? So have those safeguards in place.
Right.
Once you create, a part of having a sandbox is not dumping a bunch of sand on the ground. It's creating the box and
Right.
saying, this is my place where it's safe to play and to learn and to experiment and to try. And so um, that's where that's where we get to see real advancement. And about succession planning, leaders that are coming into this new position, congratulations. You get a whole new set of challenges and opportunities to help your people navigate. And that is, it's
Is
true navigation. And the principles of leadership stay the same no matter what. My sister is a preschool teacher, and she always calls me, she calls me the great reminder. She
I
says,
love it.
he says, Amber, I really teach a lot of this the first time. So whenever they're 4 and 5, of
I love it.
treat people with respect, share with others,
Yeah.
take your turn, don't overrate. And so she teaches that respect and value the first time, and that's what we do as a great reminder with a little bit more strategy on the side, but it's all the same of treat people well. And as much as technology is advancing um, the foundation of leadership and the foundation of treating others well does stay the same. And we see that even within our global
Right.
where we've worked in over 75 countries. We've just uh, crossed the milestone. We've helped our 1 millionth person that has
Wow.
gone through our trainings.
That's
And
amazing.
yes,
Congratulations.
thank you. Um, but we've had people ask, so how much do you alter for different places
Right.
that you work? Because obviously giving feedback in Japan versus India versus
Oh,
Germany
culturally,
versus
yeah.
Brazil is
Very
very
different.
different. And we do make quite a few cultural changes
Sure.
for different places. The foundation of wherever you are in the world is the same. Respect others, value others, treat people well. The way that is demonstrated might be a little bit differently. The foundation and the intent is the same.
Yes.
So those personal skills are the intention, and the foundation behind
Tension
all of
is
them
everything.
is,
Yeah.
yes,
I
shaped
can't
by
tell you.
culture.
I
But
can't tell you how many times manufacturing I worked in other countries and made a total ass out of myself because I didn't know, necessarily the culture. But as long as I came with a humble, like as long as you're respectful and you're like, I mean, you're just kind of like you don't know what you're not aware of, but you manage when you're respectful and humble and you learn, right? You're always learning. And then for the
yes,
next time. And
then
then
you
you
you have to
don't,
show that you
yeah, you
learn. Yeah,
don't make
you
that
make
mistake
it better.
again. So yeah, well, Amber, this has been amazing. I appreciate you being on so much. Thank you again, um, Amber with the Pathwayz Group. And of course your book. Yeah, I think you have a copy of it there, right? So
Yes.
everybody knows Amber has Uniquely Better. This is her book, and it's available on her website, pathwayzgroup.com, right? And then it's also available on Amazon, and you're writing a book in the process, right? It's coming out next year or end of
Yes,
this
it's
year?
coming out the end of this
End of
year.
this year.
Yes. Yes,
Awesome.
called HR Guidelines Every Manager Should Know.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm definitely gonna pick that up because that sounds like I need to know.
And it's
So
written as a nice parable for any manager or supervisor, whatever yeah, how to better
I
partner
love
with
it.
HR. Yep.
Very to the point too. I love that. It's like just to the point, which is good for someone like me because sometimes I miss the point. So it's good. But Amber, again, I really appreciate your time today, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I hope we can connect again, and maybe we'll do another topic in the future.
Absolutely. This has been a
Um,
pleasure, Emily.
yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Amber and Emily just delivered the blueprint for leadership development in the modern workplace, and if you're still using traditional succession planning, you're building ladders with missing rungs. Here are the three biggest takeaways. First, technology is eliminating entry-level positions and flattening middle management, which means traditional career ladders are broken. You need a toolbox approach that builds skills, not just promotions. Second, the most requested leadership training now is emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and relationship building, the humaning skills that automation can't replace. And third, you can't be strategic in HR without business acumen. You need to speak CFO language about ROI and CEO language about operational impact. Amber Vanderburg brings incredible perspective from leading the Pathwayz Group across 75 countries and helping over 1 million people through leadership development. Her book, Uniquely Better, is available on Amazon and her website, and she's got another book coming out this year called HR Guidelines Every Manager Should Know. Her approach to experimenting with new tools and technologies is brilliant. Pick one small HR function, try something new, measure what works, and iterate. Don't revolutionize everything at once. Build competency through controlled experiments in safe sandbox environments. If this episode made you realize your succession planning is stuck in the past, share it with every HR leader who's struggling to develop talent in today's workplace. Drop a comment and tell us, what's one leadership skill you're prioritizing that technology can't automate? Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time on Talent Talks.